Here's an example of homework E.3, interest. Like with all the homeworks, you got 60 minutes to do it, no partial credit. If you look at your graded work immediately when you're done, if you got them all right, fantastic. If not, make sure you look at it, see which ones are wrong, see if you can figure out how to do them correctly. Sometimes it's just not answering the right question. Learn your lesson on these things. Send me questions immediately. Every single one of these is either going to be simple or compound interest. That should be the first thing that you look for when you do these things. Simple or compound. And that'll tell us which formulas to use. This one has the word simple in it. If we go and look at the next page real quick, this one, number 4, the money is compounded quarterly. That one says compounded. Number 3 says compounded. This should be the very first thing we're looking for. Number 4, it says simple. Every single one of these is going to say simple or compounded. Make sure we pay attention to which one it is. Number 7 here is simple, right? Going back, number 6 says simple. Simple. Every single one of these will say simple or compounded. Right? Number 8 here, right? This one says compounded. 9 says compounded. Number 10, it says simple. Right? Every single one of these will say simple or compounded. All right, so now let's actually, and then also pay attention to the question that is asked. On this particular homework, the most common mistake is answering the wrong question. Right? So when we do this, if the question asks for the interest rate, give us the rate. If it asks for the amount of interest, give me amount of interest. If it asks for the total future value, make sure you give me the total future value. Right? So in this particular one, we already see the word simple here. And then we have to identify the numbers. So 220 here is what's invested. That's our original P. This is our P. This is our principal. The time is 4 years. The other amount down here, a lot of students will use that as interest. That is not interest. That is the amount that gets returned. So that is the future value A. And we note that the future value A is the principal plus the interest. So in this case here, the future value A of 271 is equal to the 220 plus the interest. That means that interest I has to be $52. How did I get $52? If I have to subtract 220 from this side, right? And then also subtract it from this side. So this tells you the interest I is $52. Now, when I use my formula, when I use the P equals RT formula, the interest is equal to the PRT. Okay? Now we know that $52 in interest is equal to the original principal of $220 times the rate times the time of 4 years. Then to solve this, we need to divide by both the 220 and we also need to divide by the 4. All right. Now, I see a lot of students wanting to multiply those and divide by 880. That's fine. But realize what you can just type this into your calculator and do 52 divided by 220 and also divide by 4. Okay. So that side, also divide this side by those same amounts, right? So that means the rate R will equal the 52 divided by 220 and also divide by 4. If you want to divide by 880, you can. So 52 divided by 220, also divided by 4, is, this is, the rate is, I got 0.0590,909. This keeps going. And then when I change this to a percent, so R will equal 5.90909%, rounded to the nearest tenth is going to be 5.9%. So we put 5.9 in our box. That one's a little tricky because we have to know to first find the interest. I see a lot of students using the 271 as the interest. The interest is only $52. I think there'll be another one of these on the homework in a few minutes. Number 2, FIRB deposits $400 in a certificate of deposit and earns 3.3%. If the money is compounded quarterly means N is 4 because it happens 4 times a year. That also means that NT is going to be 4 times 3, which is 12. Right? Because we're told that it's there for 3 years. So now we're looking for the total future value A, which is our formula A, is P times 1 plus R over N raised to the NT. So when we plug our numbers in here, A is the original $400 times 1 plus the interest rate of 0.033 divided by N, which is 4 times a year. And then my exponent is going to be 12. Grab our calculator. If you remember from the last section that we did, this is going to be exponential growth because the growth factor there is going to be a little over 1. So let's see, 400 times, and then I open parenthesis, 1 plus 0.033, 3, I got an extra 3 in there, right? So 0.333. And then divide that by 4, close my parenthesis, and then make the exponent 12. So A is going to be 441.8414, and this keeps going. And since that is money, we round that to the nearest cent, 441.84. So let's really quick, let's take another look at this value here, how we type that into our calculator down here. When I type that in, I am literally typing 400. Then I hit the times key and I open parenthesis, 1, the plus key, 0.0333 divided by 4, close parenthesis. Then I hit the exponentiation key, which is on my calculator, it looks like x to the y. So x to the y, and let me make my exponent here. And then I put in what? The 12. I used the whole 12 there, right? And that was the whole point of doing this exponentiation calculation way up here, right? 4 times 3 is 12. And then I hit my equal sign. So in the box, I'm going to put in 441.84. Keep in mind, if he's investing $400, it's an investment. He better make money. He better get more than $400 back. He got it. So this 441.84 consists of his original $400, and then he made $41 in interest. So that was Ferb's deposit. Here's Phineas's deposit. So this is almost the exact same problem. In fact, this is pretty much the same problem. You know, Phineas invested $500. It's compounded. In this case, it's compounded monthly, which is a big difference. Compounded monthly. And since it's compounded monthly, that means N is 12. And in this case, NT, my exponent, is going to be 12 times 3, which is 36. So when I type this in, what my formula looks like, my formula is going to be A is going to be equal to the P times 1 plus R over N. And that's going to be get raised to the 36th power. My exponent is 36. So A is his original $500 times 1 plus the interest rate is 0.0321 divided by 12 because it's monthly, and then my exponent will be 36. All right, so grab my calculator. This is 500 times, open parenthesis, 1 plus 0.0321 divided by 12, close parentheses, and then I make my exponent 36. A is equal to 550.4738. This keeps going, and that is going to be money. So this is 550.47. It's asking for the total future value, right? How much will it be worth in 3 years? This is similar to the other one. How much will it be worth in 3 years? If it was asking for just the interest would be 500, or excuse me, the interest on the $500 would be $50.47, but it didn't ask for just the interest. It asked for the entire future value, 550.47. Notice how those two were compounded. This one here is simple. And since it is simple, that means we are going to be using the I is equal to PRT formula, right? And since this asks for the future value, realize the future value A has to be the original principal plus the interest. So we need to find the interest and then add it to the original principal. So our interest I is the principal of $7,300 times the rate, which is 0.0467 times the time, which is 7 years. 7,300 times 0.0467 times 7. That is equal to 2,386.37. That means the total future value A is the original 7,300 plus that interest of 2,386.37. And do realize that I still have that 2,386.37 in my calculator. I'm not going to clear it out and then retype it. That would be silly. So I'm just going to leave that number in there and then add to that the 7,300. So I just hit plus 7,300, and this is 9,686.37. Directions say round to the nearest cent. That already is round to the nearest cent. And when I put the answer in the answer box, Canvas loves commas. So this is going to be 9,686.37. If I leave that comma out, Canvas will put it in for me. Number 5. The most important word here is simple, right? Simple. Since it says simple, that means we're going to be using the I equals PRT. And this problem requests, what is the interest? So this is probably the simplest, most straightforward one on the entire homework. I is PRT. So in this case here, the interest is equal to the principal of 4,600 times the rate, 0.0422 times the time, 19. 4,600 times 0.0422 times 19. The interest is 3,688.28. Super simple, super straightforward. Do it a couple of times, right? Make sure you type numbers into your calculator correctly and in our box. 3,688.28. So I'm going to try it again. 4,600 times 0.0422 times 19. 3,688.28. Number 6, find the interest on a 15-year investment of $6,500, simple annual rate of 4.44. This is exactly like the one we just worked. So I is PRT because it is simple. In this case, the interest I is the original principal of $6,500 times the rate of 0.0444. A lot of fours in this quiz, right? Or times 15. So I is equal to, grab a calculator, 6,500 times 0.0444 times 15, 43.29. Do it a couple of times. 43.29. It says round in the nearest cent, but so technically this should be 43.29.00. Canvas will stick the comma in there. We don't need these zeros here, but it will not be marked wrong if we put them there. We had Phineas, we had Ferb, we had Candace. So I suspect when this homework was written, Phineas and Ferb was on in the background, right? So Candace invested $2,400, simple annual rate of that for 3 years. What is the total future value? In this case here, this is simple. So that we're going to have to use I is equal to PRT, right? And because we're looking for the future value A will equal the principal plus whatever interest we find. So the interest I is PRT. So this is the 2,400 times the rate of 0.0291 times 4. So our interest I, so 2,400 plus, or times, I put plus, let me clear that out again. So 2,400 times 0.0291 times 4 is 279.36 in interest. So 279.36. And then that means our future value A is the 2,400 plus the 279.36. And again, like before, I have that number in my calculator. I'm not going to clear it out and retype it. So all I do is I just hit plus 2,400. I might even be able to do that in my head, right? So A is 2679.36. And when we put the answer in the box here, Canvas will stick a comma in there. 79.36. If you're watching this recording, pause it, rewind it, go through it again. Right? Make sure you can do it ahead of me. How much interest will be earned on a $1,700 investment at 8.52% interest compounded monthly for 7 years? Compounded monthly is an important fact because that tells us we're dealing with the bigger compounded formula with n is equal to 12. And that also tells us that exponent nt is equal to 12 times 7, which is 84. So now when I type into the equation, the future value A is equal to the original principal of $1,700 times 1 plus the interest rate of 0.0852 divided by 12 because it is monthly. And then the exponent is going to be 84. So 1,700 times, open parentheses, 1 plus 0.0852 divided by 12, close parentheses, exponent 84. So A is equal to 3,079.97. I'm going ahead and round it all right. It's 97352, but it gets rounded to the cent, so 97. That is the future value. The question did not ask for the future value. The question asked for the interest. So the interest I is that future value minus the original principal, which in this case is the 3079.97 minus the original 1700. So the interest I, okay. And in my calculator, I have the 3079.97. All I'm going to do is just hit minus 1700. And that is 1379.97. So in my box here, I type in 1379.97. This question was only asking for the interest, so that better be the answer that I provide. Here's the same question. This is only asking for the interest. And since it's compounded quarterly, I'm going to have n is equal to 4. And it also means my exponent nt is going to be 28. Do you see how I got the 28? It's 4 times a year times 7 years. So now when I type in my big formula, the future value A is the original principal of 3,400 times 1 plus the interest rate of 0.0760 divided by 4, because it's compounded quarterly, and the exponent is going to be 28. My calculator, so let's clear it all out. 3400 times, open parenthesis, 1 plus 0.0760 divided by 4, close parentheses, the exponent is 28. So that means the future value is, A is going to be 5,759.12. It's 0.119, and when I round to the cent, it'll be 12 cents. That's the future value. The question didn't ask for the future value. The question asked for the interest. The interest is that future value minus the original principal of 3,400. So 5,759.12 minus the 3,400. I have the 5,759.12 on my calculator. I just hit subtract 3,400. And this is equal to 2,359.12. So in my box is going to be 2,359 and 12 cents. Remember, the question asked for the interest, so this is interest on the future value of 5,759 and 12 cents. Number 10 here, we're going to finish with a simple interest one, right? Remember the simple interest right here. That tells us we're going to be using I equals PRT in here somewhere. The question is going to ask what is the interest rate. So we'll be looking for R. And note that here, this 282 is the future value A. That means the interest is the future value minus the original principal. In this case, the I is the future value of 282 minus the original amount of 240. So that means the amount of interest I is $42. If we invest $240 and we get 282 back, that means 42 of it was interest. Then we use the I equals PRT formula. So that 42 is equal to the original 240 times the rate times the time of 4 years. This tells us the interest rate R is going to be the 42 divided by the 240 and also divided by the 4. So the R, 42 divided by 240 divided by 4 is 0.04375. Now that one actually truncates, but when I change this to a percent, this is 4.375%. And notice the instructions are to round to the 10th of a percent. So when I round to the 10th of a percent, this is going to get changed to 4.4%. This homework is really calculation heavy, and the most frequent mistake is providing the right answer to the wrong question. Always look for simple and compound right out of the gate, and then pay attention to the questions that gets asked. Go through your graded work. Make sure you send me any questions right away.